Hello, today I'll be demonstrating my level that was created for Studio 2. I'll be talking about the theme and genre of the game, how the assets, the foliage, materials, particles, kismet and other forms of scripting were created. So let's get started. Please also note that I've chosen a balanced breed for this because I'm still in limbo of what I want to become as an artist or a level designer. The theme of the game is based on an ancient Aztec environment where its vegetation continues to grow with no one to take care of it, which is why the foliage grows wildly. The genre of the game is an adventure exploration type where the player is put into the world with some indication of what to do thanks to the cinematics showing the environment and the objects that need to be picked up. The player will know what to pick up because of the objects rotating and the glowing light above it. The assets that were created by me were the pyramids, the bridge, the foliage, the river, the artifacts, and the torch balls. On the basis that this was an Aztec theme, I took some time to research how the pyramids looked like and how the setting for the environment looked like as well, as you'll find in the reference folder. The pyramids were created by my own imagination, however thanks to the reference images, I used some of the architecture that the Aztecs used. At first I used photo manipulation to texture the pyramids, but it made the pyramids look horrible and stretched out. So I took the time to hand paint the pyramids, and using clone stamp I painted moss, dirt and scratches on them. By using the traditional art of Aztecs, the artifacts I created these artifacts that represent what the player must pick up in order to complete the level. The torch balls was also taken by an Aztec design by using some of the reference images, and by creating particle systems I was able to attach a fire above the torch balls to give that illuminating look. The foliage, which took the longest to design, which I believe brings out my artistic side, was done by baking down high poly meshes of 3ds Max into Photoshop, and by using custom techniques I was able to create photorealistic foliage by then taking them back into Max and putting them on low poly planes. Thanks to the power of the material editor, I was able to create a few parameters that would allow me to change everything about my foliage, from its diffuse to its specular and everything else, saturation and ambient lighting and so on, from UDK instead of going back into Photoshop and changing everything there. Also, I was able to create one master material, and thanks to material instancing I was able to create instances for the grass and the bushes as well. So I could easily go back into my grass instance and change everything there as well. I also created parameters for the wind strength of my foliage. So, for instance, if I wanted my trees to move faster because they're so high up, I can easily do that, as you'll see here. I can easily take away the leaves as well. So if I decided it should be winter, I could easily just take those away and leave everything scattered. By using the power of the material editor, I was able to create a realistic water material for the river and for the lake, as you'll see throughout the level. By adding some expression nodes, I was able to tell the UDK engine to say that if the water hits the side of a geometry, then foam should appear on the sides. The terrain was built in UDK by using the terrain landscape tools. And at first the terrain was big, but since I've already placed everything onto the terrain, instead of creating a new terrain and then placing everything again, I just used the paint tools to increase the mountain range, so where the areas are blocked off the player cannot enter. This was due to having a huge triangle count to deal with, and because I didn't want the game to crash every time, this was my only option. The player so far in this alpha stage is the fact that they cannot pick up the artifacts just yet, as I'm still learning how to use Kismet. When the player finally picks up all the artifacts, either the level will end or new treasure will spawn, or the entrance to the next level will appear. So far, the only Kismet that has been used was for the cinematics, but other forms of scripting were used in the material editor, and as you've seen, very heavily.